Okay, I'll call to order the monthly meeting of the Shell Rock River Watershed District for February 8th, 2022. Will you please call roll?
Manager Kramer,
Here.
Manager Pastuski,
Here.
Manager Bakken,
Here.
Manager DeBoer,
Here.
Manager Hanson,
Here.
Manager Delger.
Here. Okay, next item is on the agenda is a public hearing on the Vandergrift Wetland Restoration Establishment. I will now open the public meeting for the Vandergrift Wetlands Restoration Establishment. All comments by the proponents, opponents, or the public shall be made from the podium. Please first give your name and address. This is required because an official record of the public hearing is being made. Please note, comments are limited to 3 minutes. These rules are intended to promote an orderly system of holding a public hearing to give every person an opportunity to be heard and to ensure that no individual is embarrassed by exercising the individual's right of free speech. It is not necessary to be a proponent or an opponent in order to speak. If you consider yourself neither a proponent or opponent, please speak during the proponent portion and identify yourself as neither a proponent or opponent. No comment shall be made from any other location, and anyone making out of order comments may be subject to removal from the meeting. There will be no demonstration during or at the conclusion of anyone's presentation. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak? Second time, is there anyone who would like to speak? Third and last time, is there anyone that would like to speak? Hearing none, the public hearing is now closed. Item number 3, consent agenda. Following items will be acted upon without discussion in accordance with the staff recommendation and associated documents unless the manager requests an opportunity for discussion. A, minutes of the January 18th, 2021 Shell Rock River Watershed Monthly Board meeting. B, January 2022 Treasurer's Report subject to audit. C, January 2022 Project Fund Treasurer's Report subject to audit. D, authorized payment of claims. E, authorized payment of project fund disbursement. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented? Woman. Second by Manager DeBoer, second by Kramer. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, will you please call roll?
Manager Kramer,
Aye.
Manager Pastuski,
Aye.
Manager Bakken,
Aye.
Manager DeBoer,
Aye.
Manager Hanson,
Aye.
Manager Delger.
Aye, motion carried. Item number 4 is approval of the agenda. Are there any additions, corrections, or deletions that need to be made to the rest of the agenda?
Mr. Chair, there is no additions, corrections, or deletions to be made.
Okay, with that, then do I have a motion? So, motion by me, by Manager Bakken. Is there a second?
A second.
Second by Kramer. Any discussion? Will you please call roll?
Manager Kramer,
Aye.
Manager Pastuski,
Aye.
Manager Bakken,
Aye.
Manager DeBoer,
Aye.
Manager Hanson,
Aye.
Manager Delger.
Aye, motion carried. Item number 5, Administrator Andy Henschel.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. The only item I have is just a legislative update for the legislative session here to start out 2022. The biggest thing is just, again, a quick overview. The legislation or the legislators have kicked off and they are running, not walking, as we can say. But of course, they have some differences of opinion on how things should work. So we're going to have to, really play those out. I think we are still sitting good in both the House and the Senate. Of course, Governor Walz, we did not make it in his bonding requests. So we'll still keep pushing on that note. Just a little bit of an update. The phase 3 of the Fountain Lake Restoration Project was introduced last year. under Senate File 447 and House File 384 for an appropriation of 7.5 million in bonding dollars. That will continue, or we'll move those into this session. However, we will update those numbers from the 7.5 to roughly 8.5 with the increased cost for remob and demob. Similar to that, some of the big differences of opinion, of course, are the state surplus of the 7.7 billion. The governor and the House want to look at more of the, putting more of that money surplus and towards enhancing the healthcare, education, climate change, and housing programs, where the Senate really wants to look at tax cuts and so on and so forth. So there is going to be some, as always, difference of opinion on how that 7.7 billion is spent or given back to the taxpayers. So we'll play that one by ear. Just a little bit or some important dates. The February 15th, the new legislative district maps will be released. Early March, the revenue forecast will come out. March 25th and April 1st and April 8th is the first, second, and third policy and bill deadlines for the House and the Senate. On April 8th through the 18th is the Easter Passover break. April 19th and May 23rd, 2022, conference committees meet and they negotiate between the House, Senate, and governor, and then session ends. With that, the MAUD legislative event is going to be held on Wednesday, March 16th and Thursday, March 17th. On the 16th, the administrators will have their MAUA meeting from 9 to noon. The MAUD Board of Directors will meet from 1 to 3. We'll have a legislative briefing from 4 to 6. And then on Thursday, the important date is from 8:30 to 10. We'll have breakfast at the Capitol with legislatures. So this is the event where me and Judy will reach out to Peggy and Jean and have them come down. And then we'll also, after the breakfast is over, we'll meet with other legislative supporters and meet with them and see where things are at. So that's just a quick overview of the legislative session. Again, it's important for us to try to secure the money for phase 3 of the dredging project. This will probably push us back to dredging probably not starting until 2023. And that of course depends on when the money is allocated and what we can get built for additional CDF. So it's a legislative update unless there's any questions for me, Mr. Chair.
Any questions? Hearing none, we'll go on to item number 6, project program manager Courtney Phelps.
Thank you. The first item I have is a resolution 2022-02 Vandergrift Wetland Restoration Establishment. So this is what the public hearing was on at the beginning. It is funded through Lessard Sands Phase 6. The goal of this project is wetland restoration and flood mitigation, as well as providing habitat. We did approve the project plan at last month's board meeting. And so now I am looking to get a motion so that I can approve the resolution to establishment.
I have a motion for the Vandergrift Wetland Restoration Establishment. So moved by Manager DeBoer, is on a second.
Second.
Second by Manager Pasuski. Courtney, please read the resolution.
Thank you. Resolution 2022-02 establish Vandergrift Wetland Restoration Project, project number 2018-01. Whereas the Shell Rock River Watershed District Board of Managers pursues the mission of implementing reasonable and necessary improvements to the water-related and other natural resources within its boundaries. Whereas the Shell Rock River Watershed District is charged with implementing the Shell Rock River Watershed District Watershed Management Plan. Whereas on February 13th, 2018, the district initiated the Vandergrift Wetland Restoration Project by Resolution 2018-06. Whereas the Board of Managers, having reviewed the project plan and has determined that approval of the project plan will further the objectives of the plan. Whereas on January 18th, 2022, By resolution 2022-01, the Board of Managers approved the specifications for the project. Whereas the project plan was forwarded to the Board of Water and Soil Resources and the Department of Natural Resources for their review and comment. DNR comments were received by letter dated January 2nd, 2020, and Bowser comments were received January 16th, 2020. Whereas a public hearing was held on February 8th, 2022 to review the project plan. Therefore, the Board of Managers hereby finds that the proposed Vandergrift Wetland Restoration Project has the ability to promote the public interest and welfare in conformity with the watershed management plan as set forth above. Now therefore, be it hereby resolved that the Shell Rock River Watershed District hereby, section 1, establishes project number 2018-01 Vandergrift Wetland Restoration Project. Section 2 authorizes district staff to complete the project as set forth in the project plan, and section 3 authorizes the district staff to obtain bids, request for approvals, and enter into any other agreements or contracts necessary to complete the project. Dated February 8th, 2022.
Is there any discussion?
Question, could you either Courtney or Andy summarize it a little bit as far as the grants received, the amount of projects or intents? I don't know, we had that last month, I think it was.
Yep, so.
Summarize a little bit for us.
Yep, and this is gonna kind of go into our next bullet point, the JPA. But if you look at the project site, it is located just outside of, or at kind of at the intersection of Highway 13 and Interstate 90. There is a portion of the property that is owned by the Shell Rock River Watershed District. We were able to secure that funding or secure that property using Lessard Stamps funding for wetland restoration. This is now using also Lessard Stamps funding to be able to restore the property. We are going to be replacing existing culvert that is underneath the old railroad bed that is now owned by Freeborn County. We're going to be replacing that culvert and also putting a water level control structure on the upstream side of that railroad berm to be able to hold water and to create habitat, create wetlands, and provide flood mitigation for the Wedge Creek area, hoping that we store more water upstream so that we can alleviate flooding downstream. So all portions of this project were funded by the Lessard Stamps Outdoor Heritage Council between phases 4 and phase 6 through the acquisition and restoration.
And just a second note, funding for phase 6 has to be used by June, end of June, June 30th. That's why we are trying to push this project out. So we can get those funds spent and a excellent project done.
Thank you.
Any more discussion?
Just one quick question on like impounding water for wetland restoration. So as we come up with, the city got the bonding dollars for the highway project for the floodplain downtown. Do we have any metrics that show the benefits that all the wetlands that we've created have perhaps had any impact on the flooding that we've had downtown, so that we can say that before this project happened, the projects like, the downtown flood project, the project like this where we're creating more wetland, how those have added up to contribute to less flooding?
So I will mention that the city of Albert Lea, every time that there's been like flooding, what they will do is they'll track the locations that have flooded in the days. So specifically like roadways, if Main Street's flooded, how long, the time. So they have that metrics that they've been checking on. So I mean, you could do some analysis to see if the flooding duration times are getting shorter throughout the periods of years, or maybe if they're growing with increased flooding events. But they do track flooding data. So it'd be something that would be interesting to look into.
Yeah, as far as, we don't necessarily track on that scale. What we track is like how many cubic feet of water we can hold back with this retention project or this retention project. I'm assuming that at some point we could put all those together and get you an actual number. But it would take some time and some cost to do that.
I think it definitely has helped, you can tell that, but the problem is that, this last year, we didn't have a lot of big rain episodes.
Mhm.
So how do you, it's kind of hard when you gotta go by how much rain we've had, how saturated the ground is. But I'm sure it's helping a lot.
Well, and Mike knows this too. There's so many variables that go into that, time of year, how much snow melt you had, so there's a lot of variables that compute into those figures.
is where I'm trying to go with this is, we have a very visible project in the city that's going to reduce flooding, but I'd like to make sure that the watershed, as we do projects like this that contribute to that the public sees these projects as being a big source of that flooding going down, not just that city project, so.
Yep.
That's all I have for that. Thank you.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, will you please call roll?
Manager Kramer?
Aye.
Manager Pastuski?
Aye.
Manager Bakken?
Aye.
Manager DeBoer?
Aye.
Manager Hanson?
Aye.
Manager Delcher?
Aye. Resolution passes.
Thank you. The next item I have is a motion to approve a joint powers agreement with Freeborn County for the Vandergrift wetland restoration. This is included in your packet. So as I mentioned previously, the Shell Rock owns the property that is going to be flooded as a result of the wetland creation. But the culvert that we are going to be replacing and the water control level station is located on Freeborn County's property because they own that old railroad berm or railroad easement that goes through there. So this joint powers agreement gives us the opportunity to go and replace, maintain and inspect throughout the life of the project for that replacement of the culvert for that project. And so this has been vetted by the county attorney as well as the county engineer himself. And after we approve this agreement, it will be going on the Freeborn County's February 16th or their next board meeting for approval as well.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
By Manager Hanson, do I have a second?
Second.
By Manager Kramer, do we have any discussion? Hearing none, will you please call roll?
Manager Kramer?
Aye.
Manager Pastuski?
Aye.
Manager Bakken?
Aye.
Manager DeBoer?
Aye.
Manager Hanson?
Aye.
Manager Delcher?
Aye, motion carried.
Thank you. The next item I have is a motion to submit the Shell Rock River Winnebago Draft Comprehensive Watershed Management Plan to the Board of Water and Soil Resources. Just a little bit of a background, our water plan, our One Watershed One plan had gone out for informal comment as well as formal comment. And the policy committee just conducted a public hearing in early January in which no comments were received. But all of the public comments were either addressed and there were new plan content requirements or there were changes to the plan to make it approvable and agreeable for basically approving the plan. And so we have made revisions to the plan. The one Watershed One plan, the updated draft is on our website for the public. It's underneath the One Watershed One plan tab. It's the first hyperlink. If any of our board members want a printed out copy, we can make that happen, but it's about a 400+ page document with all the appendices. So we're saving some paper here by having it on the website. I will say that as a result of our memorandum of agreement for planning, each entity has to approve the water plan before our policy committee can send it to Bowser for their final approval. So that's why we have this on our agenda today. Both the county, the SWCD, and the city are doing the exact same thing, that each entity is approving the plan so that our policy committee can then send it to Bowser to complete the review process. And they have up to 90 days to approve the plan. Once Bowser approves the plan, then our respective agencies, again, I think have 120 days to formally approve the plan. And remember, as a result of this plan, you do get watershed-based implementation funds to implement projects identified in the plan. We're looking to get roughly around $300,000 every 2 years. So it's over $1 million over the next 10 years is in funding from Bowser to implement these projects identified in the water plan. So we don't have tentative numbers, we don't have a grant agreement in place, but that's what's expected. Roughly.
I'd encourage the board members to go and try to read all that, because it's a lot. A lot to remember. It is good though. With that, is there a motion to submit the Shell Rock River Winnebago Draft Comprehensive Watershed Management Plan to the Board of Water and Soil Resources? So motion. Made by Manager Kramer, do I have a second? Second. By Manager DeBoer, any discussion?
I'd also like to say, great job staff with taking the lead on really leading the watershed plan in here. You guys have put a lot of contributions to it and good job leading it. The community appreciates it.
Yeah, there's been a lot of work put into it. by staff, or me especially probably.
On consultants too. It's a big task.
You gotta keep everybody in line.
Your team has really brought a lot of good resources to that planning information for expertise. So,
Any other discussion? Hearing none, if please call roll.
Manager Kramer,
aye.
Manager Besuski,
Aye.
Manager Vaca,
Aye.
Manager DeBoer,
Aye.
Manager Hanson,
Aye.
Manager Delcher.
Aye. Carried.
Thank you. The last item I have is a credit trading update. So our credit trading water quality pilot program, it was funded by LCCMR. Funding has expired, but we did create numerous outputs as a result of that project. And the Shell Rock got asked to present at the Minnesota Ag Urban Partnership Forum, which cities can attend, watershed districts can attend, SWCDs. It's really kind of grouping the urban and rural, hence the name Ag Urban. But we got asked to present on the outcomes of our credit trading project. And so it gave us the opportunity to, one, say a little bit about our struggles with the project, but it really gave us the opportunity to provide and showcase all of the outputs that we had as a result of that. I did get a lot of feedback as a result of that. I thought it was a very good presentation, and again, to me, it was important to show the outputs of what we created and all the hard work that went into it, because it is a very difficult topic, and I think we were ahead of the curve in creating some of those documentation, because there's never been stormwater credit trading taking place. And oddly enough, that same day, we actually got asked to present to LCCMR, which was our funding, to present at one of their lunch and learns, where we were specifically asked to present on the outcomes as well. So our funding source also got to hear the outputs and outcomes as a result of that, of the funding that they gave us to implement that water quality credit trading grant. So just wanted to let everyone know that we're getting our outputs heard and being able to reach out to more individuals that maybe want to implement that.
Well, thank you very much for your hard work on that one too. I have a question for you, since you're talking, but the Shell Rock River project. I've had a lot of calls on that, and they've all been encouraging. They just want to know what the heck's going on. They see a lot of stuff happening, and so can you kind of explain a little bit of that? Where we're at on that one?
Yeah, and it is fully my intention to get a press release with Sarah too. I saw her at the city council meeting when we were doing the One Watershed One plan, and so we need to get something out to let other people know. But yes, so they have completed work at the Panicum Prairie site, and they have started working and are about halfway done with the AMA. A lot of the projects on the AMA, the goal of the projects is to narrow the water channel. Right now, the Shell Rock River is over widened in a lot of spots, creating shallow areas, not very much habitat, and it's kind of creating like a sediment sink where, sediment can be deposited and it's not getting flushed out. So the goal is to narrow that channel to create a deeper channel and create more habitat by putting in tree revetments. So it's basically sunken trees that are perpendicular to the water channel. We are also putting in permeable pavers, which are basically just logs at an interval spacing in a series of lines. The goal is to trap sediment, to kind of create that sediment that's there and will fill in over time, leading to that narrower channel. And we also have rock riffle structures, which are periodically placed, and that's going to create scouring holes and deeper channels as well for fish. So they are working their way from the top down. They're wrapping up on work. They should hopefully be done within the next 2 weeks or so. But yep, they're in the process of just putting in those habitat and BMP basically measurements throughout the course of the river.
So exactly how far down the river are they going? I'm confused on that part of it yet.
Yep, so the road that Ulands is on, I'm drawing a blank, is that 19?
84.
84, so that's where it's gonna stop. So where that Ulands road, that concrete road, the bridge going over the river, that's the end of the project area. It started at the outlet of the Elderly Lake Dam. Around that first bend, there's your first BMPs. So it's that whole stretch of river between those two highways.
And then a portion down by the border.
In which that is already wrapped up and completed. That had a different project area. So upstream was more about narrowing the channel. the Panicum piece was all about stream bank erosion, because there was two bad areas that were contributing to a lot of erosion. So that was toewood installation, which was using the root wads of trees to be able to take the force off. More natural than using just riprap or rock these days, so they're trying to get into that more natural state of restoration. So those two bends had toewood installation installed to prevent erosion.
And again, the funding source for both those projects was LSOHC.
That's good. I just wanted to make sure that I was telling everybody that
Yep.
it was closer to right than wrong, and I didn't want to say anything that wasn't right, but so that kind of clears a lot of stuff up.
No, we'll get working on a press release here.
Just so you know, the project was highlighted a lot on the Watershed Weekly, so if you want to
Mhm.
recommend that to your.
Yeah. You can do that. That's a good idea. But they'd rather ask instead of. Any more questions for Courtney? Courtney, have anything else?
Oh,
Okay. And we'll go on to the manager's items. The reports, I have nothing from the city or the county. Joel?
I have nothing, no meeting that I'm aware of.
Any other managers have something items?
Got a request. I don't know if you could bring us up to date, Andy, on real estate sales. Interest rates are going up. So the private industry, I mean, the sooner we can put our property out there, I think the better off we are. But the city was doing, they're gonna approve some of our tests. Are we through that area yet, or?
Yeah, so I mean, the update on the country club property is, we did finally get the testing completed. Jones Hug and Smith has worked up some of the plating information for the city. So we're basically where we're at is we're gonna review it with our attorneys and with the city this month. And during our March meeting, we'll have a recommendation to the board to pick another realtor group to get it out on the market. So hopefully the March meeting will get all that stuff completed and go from there.
Thank you.
Calls on that too. Okay, item number 9, upcoming meetings, our next. Or today's, March 8th is our next regular meeting, a month behind. Then our annual meeting is March 8th at 6 o'clock.
Yes, Mr. Chair. So both of those meetings will be held here. Again, March 8th. Now remember, those are evening meetings. We usually try to hold the annual meeting / board meeting in the evening to see if more people would like to attend or allow them to attend. Hopefully they're not working at that time, so they can attend those meetings. So again, the regular board meeting will be at 5:30. We got about a half hour to complete that meeting again here in this room. And then we'll proceed into the annual meeting at 6 p.m. So again, both those meetings here on March 8th.
Any questions from the managers on that? To adjourn.
So moved.
By Manager Pazuki, do we have a second?
A second.
Second by Manager Kramer. Any discussion? Hearing none, please call roll.
Manager Kramer.
Aye.
Manager Pastuski.
Aye.
Manager Vaca.
Aye.
Manager DeBoer.
Aye.
Manager Hanson.
Aye.
Manager Dahlgren.
Aye. Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.